Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here today to review another Goosebumps book. And I know that the timing is pretty interesting. It's just what I wanted to do today anyway, so I am here to actually review the wrong Goosebumps book. What happened was today was laundry day, and laundry days, there are days where, you don't really want to come back and watch like a movie, so I kind of like to do other kinds of reviews on those days specifically, and I thought it'd be really fun to read and review a Goosebumps book after doing those two videos talking about the disgusting censorship that they decided to do to these books. And it was a laundry day for sure. I mean, laundry days are always really blah, and they're always really lazy, and just, you do a lot of sitting, and then it's just waiting for it to get done. It's pretty boring. And the book that I was supposed to read today, because there's like an order on the tier list website where I'm ranking all of the Goosebumps books, there is a specific order that I have for the books to read them. And there are two Snowman books in the Goosebumps series. There's one that's called Beware the Snowman or something, and then there's another one that's called The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. And I was supposed to read Beware the Snowman, but instead I read the other one. And I did not realize it until I was more than halfway through the book. I was like, oh shit. And I looked at the rankings and I was like, uh-oh, that's not going to be very good. Anyways, and what's funny too is that I should have remembered, because I knew that a very good YouTuber and a friend, John B, aka Hot Smooth Dark Milky Tickle My Chocolate, he does Goosebumps book read-alongs, and this was Beware the Snowman was the book that he was doing. And so I should have remembered, oh yeah, that's the book that he's doing, and so I should be doing that book too. Ugh. So, mistakes were made, read the wrong book, and, some other mistakes were made too that will factor into the rating. Another funny thing about picking this book is that the family in this book is called the Blake family, and Robert Blake, the actor, he just died yesterday. So I thought it was pretty funny that coincidentally I chose the book with the Blake family in it. This book is pretty bad. I mean, I know that, I really love Goosebumps, and I want to sound like, I want to focus on the positive. Like with Night in Terror Tower, that was an okay book. It had a lot of positives. It did have a lot of negatives too. This book, though, oh God. Like, this book was so bad. There was a point where I was sitting in the laundromat parking lot and I was listening to the book, and I kept on audibly going, oh, and I would just get louder and louder and louder, and I was just groaning in pain because of the stupidity in this book, of like just these stupid people with the stupid things they say, and the stupid writing. Like, I was just, and it's not because of all the stuff that happened this past week with Goosebumps. I swear to you, it was just that bad. It was so bad. It made me, I have I wanted to get it over with as quickly as possible. That's how much I hated the book. I didn't hate it though. Like, I don't think it's the worst Goosebumps book. I don't think it might be in the top 5 worst though. The biggest reason though is actually because of another YouTuber. He gave the perfect review where he said, this is not a Goosebumps book. This is an adventure book. I would totally agree with that. This really felt like an adventure rather than a horror book like I was expecting. And the cover was a lot better than the whole book. Like, everything in the whole book, nothing is as good as that cover. I think this cover is one of the best ones in Goosebumps history. I really love the look of the snowman, and I love how he's holding that light post pole, and I love the pink and the color scheme. It's a very pretty cover. So let's get into the story of this adventure book. So it's all about this really shitty dad, and I mean, he's a terrible, terrible father. I mean, he is like one of the worst parents in Goosebumps history. Like, there are a lot of bad Goosebumps book parents. They're bad because they're really negative and they're really evil and just mean to their children. This father is not only mean to his children, but he's also an idiot. The decisions that he makes, the situations that he puts his children in, it's pretty bad. I mean, I think that he should have had his kids taken away from him after the stuff he did in this book. He's terrible, and it all starts off with, apparently, he took one sibling, because you got a brother and a sister. It's like Jordan and Nicole. Their names aren't really, I mean, I'm so glad that I remembered these 2 generic character names. The dad took Nicole to the Grand Tetons, but he did not take the brother. So that's already like a huge, like, WTF. You take one sibling on a vacation and the other one, F him. Like, seriously, this guy's a piece of shit. And to be fair, though, he is divorced, and so he obviously didn't make the best decision with who he married. You know, you can see that, you know, he really doesn't make the best decisions. He's probably one of the stupidest adults in Goosebumps history. And it starts off with, I would say, this was my favorite part of the book, where he was looking through the pictures in the dark room, and he's like, I'm going to make a book about bears, and it's going to have all these bear pictures in it. And it's like, uh-oh, I hope this isn't a gay book. And it's like, no, thank God. He's like, I took pictures of bears at the Grand Tetons, and I'm going to put those pictures in a book and sell it, as if, like, anyone's going to buy that. Like, he doesn't even make it seem like he has, like, thousands of pictures, too. Like, he makes it seem like he only has, like, 20 pictures. And I really don't think that's the case with professional photographers like this guy's supposed to be, this fucking scrub. You know, you only have 20 pictures to choose from for your grand bear book. You might as well put some gay pictures in there just to level things out and add more value to buying the book. I just want to buy some 20 pictures. Like, wow, what a waste of money. So he starts off and he's looking through his pictures, and he's like, WTF, these are all pictures of teddy bears. And it turns out one of these shithead kids, they took pictures of teddy bears and then put the pictures in there in place of the bear pictures to prank him. And he has this tendency in the book, this character. He is probably one of the most bitchy male characters in Goosebumps history. And what I mean by that is he has these really weird temper tantrums where he just starts screaming and yelling, and he just starts like freaking out like a diva, and like a fucking Christian Bale on that one Terminator movie set where he had his freak out. Like, that is what this father is like to his children. And every day, like, if something bad happens, he'll just have this massive freak out where he just can't control himself, like a child. And he freaks out over these pictures, but it's actually pretty funny because it reminded me of another Goosebumps story, and I really wonder, like, in the Night of the Living Dummy 3 episode, they do the same type of thing where the cousin Zane, he takes a bunch of pictures and he's really excited to see what they are, and it turns out that the kids took pictures of dummies and put those pictures in place of the pictures he took to prank him because he's scared of dummies. And that was the same type of thing that happened in this book. So I wonder if that happened in the original Night of the Living Dummy 3 book or what. So if anyone has read that book in particular, I would be interested to know. This is number 38, the Goosebumps book number. I don't know what part 3 is in the series. So after that, the kids interact with these bullies. And there's 2 shithead kids in the neighborhood. They have like these red-haired bowl cuts. And they really come off as creepy and evil. And you're wondering, why are they introducing these characters? Because for most of the book, they're in Alaska. And I thought the whole book might take place in Alaska. But it kind of clued me in, like, if they're introducing these characters, they'll probably come back to Pasadena at some point in the book. And then we'll see these characters again. And it is kind of an interesting beginning, too, because they talk about how these kids, they've never been around snow, ever. They've always been in this hot California environment. They've always just seen the sun and never, like, any snow or anything. Like, they're just so used to the hot. And I thought it was a really cool and interesting way to start off the book by having them in this really hot area, and then they're taken to this really cold, just terrible area, and it is really an interesting experience, that contrast. What happens with why they go to Alaska is the father, he has a job opportunity where he can go to Alaska and take pictures of the supposed abominable snowman. And he takes his children with him to do this, to go on a photo voyage to Alaska. And they meet a guide. I think he's a guide. I can barely remember these characters, except for the diva father. And the dad, he just starts treating his children like shit. Like, he's like, no, I don't want any pranks or anything. Like, he gets really upset about their children, like, pranking him and just, like, having fun. Because it's like, what are they supposed to do? They're in Alaska. They're in a dangerous environment. They could be killed by who knows what, the cold, They've never been this cold before. They're not used to this. And what does their father make them do? Well, he wants them to go on a 10-mile hike to their cabin that they have somewhere. Meanwhile, you have all these dogs, and they're pulling their belongings on a sled. And so they go on this hike, things go wrong, a lot of the dogs disappear, the guy disappears with all their food, basically, and and the dad just freaks out again and again and again like a girl. And then they get to their cabin, and then they walk around in the snow, and then they do a prank where it's like, oh, look, there's a Abominable Snowman footprint. And it's like, oh no, actually, that's just a footprint that Nicole made because she's a little bitch and she wanted to prank them. And the dad has a temper tantrum again, and he just keeps on throwing girly fits of rage, and it is so bizarre. But there are people like this. Like, I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just like working with what the book gave me, because the book, hardly anything happens in this book. It's essentially like a light ripoff of King Kong, but without the love interest and without the cool action at the end. Like, spoiler alert, because we haven't gotten to the real King Kong part yet. And believe me, it's... So the kids go off, and this is where the book kind of reminded me of those two Mummy books in the series, where you have a guy and the two kid characters. They're in a scary place, and the kids go off exploring, and they get into trouble, and the dad's like, oh no, where'd you kids go? That's what kind of happens. The kids run around, they cause trouble, they find a cave or something, and inside the cave they find the Abominable Snowman. And the Abominable Snowman eats their trail mix. He kind of chases them around and picks them up, and he might eat them. He doesn't do any of that, obviously, because it's a Goosebumps book. It's too bad, too, because I was really excited about this book. I was really excited about the story potential. Even at the beginning of the book, they had this kind of build-up to seeing the Abominable Snowman, where the guide talked about how, well, there was this one time where a dog ran off, and the Abominable Snowman got him, and they could hear his, like, painful whimpering in the distance, like he's being eaten alive by the Abominable Snowman. And then they talked about these two guys who traveled to find him, never came back, and, he's built up to be like this really scary creature that you would not want two children to get into a cave with him and then have to deal with him. That would be a really dangerous situation. And the kids, they just kind of get out of it, and then they're like, oh, that was pretty easy, let's go tell our dad. And then they go find him magically, and the dad's like, oh, what would be a really good idea? Let's all go back into the cave to get some pictures. So he doesn't care about putting his kids' lives in jeopardy. He's all about pictures. So they go back into the cave, they find the snowman, and then there's this whole, like, weird thing where, I must have been distracted because I really did not catch what happened, but it was pretty fast. It was kind of like a cop-out where the snowman, he goes back into this ice or something, and he's inside the ice, and he'll break out to come get you, but he rests in there or something, and they carve a cube of ice with the snowman inside it, and then they take that ice cube back to America, and they take him back to Pasadena. And if you're wondering, how do they get out of the middle of nowhere? I mean, they were trapped in this random cave. They didn't know where they were. Oh, just somehow the dad, radioed them out of there. It was such a cop-out, and it was just so not scary. All the stuff that happened, this was over an hour and a half, or maybe an hour and 15 minutes of the book out of an hour and 45 minutes. So that's a lot of the book where it's just, hardly anything happens. Nobody dies or gets hurt or injured. It's just they come across the creature, and then they bring him back to California. And when they bring him back, they discover that some snow inside the ice cube, or some snow attached to the ice cube. They find out that the snow is supernatural snow, and the sister Nicole, of course, she becomes a human popsicle, and they have to break her out of the ice. That was pretty dumb. And then they let the monster loose, and the monster just gets away, and the dad is away too, and he's not looking after them or taking care of, this monster that's in the basement. And you're thinking, okay, this is actually a great setup, because you're thinking the snowman, he's going to kill people, he's going to destroy buildings and pick up cars and tear them in half. He's gonna wreck Pasadena, on the cover. Oh no. He just, I don't even know what happens. He disappears. He drops off the story, and he just runs away. And the kids, they try to go and find him. They can't find him. And then they bury the extra snow that they have on the beach, because they don't want the snow to hurt people, since it can freeze you. It just, God, it's so dumb. And the book ends with this really kind of depressing ending, where they tell the dad the snowman is gone, and you can tell that he's really angry and upset, because he's just kind of doing this passive-aggressive thing where he's just I'm glad you kids are okay. And he keeps on saying that over and over and over again, as if he really wants to yell at them. And then it's even worse, because the book ends with they go back into the dark room, and the pictures of the snowman, they're either gone or he's not visible in any of the pictures. So there's basically no evidence that the snowman ever existed. But I would highly disagree. I would say, why don't these kids check the backpack for fibers, for hairs from the snowman? Because the snowman did pick up this backpack, and he rifled through it to get to the trail mix. Why don't they check the crate for hairs in the crate? Because he was a hairy creature. I mean, he would have some hairs would come loose in the crate for sure. And then also, they have the snow in the beach. They can literally just dig up the snow, which, by the way, I know how you're saying, how did the snow not melt? Well, because it's supernatural snow, so it's not going to melt at all. Which, God, this book is stupid. But they could use any of that stuff to prove their story was true. And where does the Abominable Snowman go? Well, who knows? So this book, it was really lame. It was really anticlimactic. It was much more of an adventure rather than a scary horror story where you're really, scared of what's going to happen. There's, when you read a Goosebumps book, you want a lot of scares, you want a scary villain, you want the kids to be in real danger. That's another thing. And you want there to be some sort of stakes to what's going on. And this book has none of that stuff. The dad, he's the most dangerous character in the book because he throws these, O.J. Simpson style temper tantrums. And he really doesn't care about his children. So, he's a lot worse than the snowman. Anyways, I really did not like the book. I mean, there's not even really a lot to talk about. The reason why I did that whole summary where I just kind of went through the whole book is because, there's hardly anything of substance to talk about with the plot, the characters. It was just also trash, and it was so ugh. And I will say this too, for all the bitching and complaining I did about the Goosebumps movie, I will say that the Abominable Snowman in the Goosebumps movie, he was a lot better than in this book. There's this whole sequence in the movie where the kids run into him and they have this big long chase sequence with him, and it's so much better than anything in this entire book. So I thought that was kind of funny too. In terms of rating, because there's really nothing else to talk about. I mean, nothing. Usually I have a lot to talk about, but this is a rare instance where it's yeah, I survived the book. That's what more do you want? What more do you want from me? It was really funny because a similar switcheroo happened with lunch. So originally I wanted to have Buffalo Wild Wings because Safi and I, we are doing a French fry taste test where we taste and rank all the French fries that they have around to determine what are the best fries and what are the worst. And I wanted to have wings because they also had 2 new flavors of wings. And I go on the Buffalo Wild Wings app, and I find out that you can't order traditional or boneless wings. So at Buffalo Wild Wings today, they were not serving wings, which is pretty inexplicable. I mean, the stupidity of that is just on another level. So then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just get Steak and Shake because they have some good, trashy food that you eat once in a while. And I wanted to I wanted to have a chili dog or something. And I go there and I got a chili dog and a regular hot dog and a shake, and the shake was really pretty good, although they screwed up the shake too. The shake is supposed to have these little pieces of cake in the shake, that are like sponge cake pieces. And it didn't have any pieces of actual cake in it. So that was kind of a red flag. But the biggest WTF was that I opened the bag and I see that they did not give us the right order. They gave us 2 double cheeseburgers with mayonnaise on both of them. And I thought, wow. What the hell is this? This is not good. And I gotta say, like, it was the perfect rating for this book. Like, I did not eat both burgers because it was so gross. I hate mayonnaise. And I hate mayonnaise on a hamburger or a cheeseburger. And I just was so, like, irritated how they switched up the order and they gave us the wrong food and they couldn't even make the shake right either. So that's what this book felt like. It felt like I wanted that horror story. I wanted a scary Alaska journey where they come across this monster that kills people and eats them. And instead, I get this really light kiddie adventure where there's really not much stakes at all, and they just kind of play it safe by the end of the book. And in terms of a letter grade, if you'd like me to give it a letter grade, because I usually give books letter grades, this book deserves like an F. Like, it really is a low tier Goosebumps book. If we were talking about just adventure books, it may be like a D- at best. So anyways, that's my review for the Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. Even the review was kind of like meh. So please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of this book, because I wanted to like it. Like, I really did. I really did. And oh, by the way, there was nothing like offensive in this book, and I mean nothing. Like, nothing in this book should be edited or censored or changed. So, fuck off with that bullshit. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to continue seeing honest Goosebumps book reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.